What's up, guys? Today we're going over what might be the new best weapon in Destiny 2, the Festival Flight, the Strand Area Denial Frame GL from Solstice. This thing is just a must-have. I think it is the best weapon for the best builds in the game currently. And in this video, we'll be going over how to get it, looking at the best rolls, and finally talking about why I think it truly is the best weapon right now. So starting off, how to get the weapon. When you log in, you will have the event Solstice. And if you play the Arms Week, it's pretty similar. And the portal, you have like its own page. And this one's all about just playing portal activities with solar stuff. But you just gotta look for any portal activity with the distorted Solstice engram. There's one for solo. I think this will rotate daily if I had to guess. And then there's a few for Fire Team. There's one in Pinnacle. Then there's also the Scorched playlist for Crucible. And all you have to do for the PV ones is get a B score. Kind of like the bonus drops to get these Solstice drops, and they are guaranteed. It's not a chance as long as you get that B score. And one tip to farm the weapons faster is ignore the quest until you get the weapons you want. As you do the quest and forge the armor, whatever armor you forge will now be in your loot table, your loot drop pool for running the portal. So if you only want the weapons, if you don't forge any armor, you can only get the 3 weapons. But as you forge more and more armor, eventually you will have all 8 items in your pool. And when you do jump into the portal and start farming, all of your drops in this event are going to be 1 tier higher than your normal drops. So if you're 300 light and you normally get tier 3s, all of your drops will be tier 4. Same if you're in the 400 range, usually you get tier 4, now they're tier 5s. So once you hit 400, all of your drops are tier 5. And then the shiny drops, the extra bonus chase with the really cool animated effect, are going to be plus 2 tier. So if you are in the 300 range, you can actually get tier 5s from the shiny lucky drops. And the same thing goes for the armor. All the armor is plus 1 tier. So it's definitely one of the easiest ways to farm tier 5 armor, in particular if you're not 450. And I think this is just awesome, and not only is it great, I think it is by far the right thing to do. These events are obviously very limited in both the time they're available and the fact that it's only once per year. So we should be able to get the best versions of all the stuff pretty easily. And at first I thought the tier 5 armor was a little bit weird, but as I thought about it more, I think the only reason it feels weird is because we're at the beginning of this new power level system. And this is a lot of people's first exposure to tier 5 drops. But if you fast forward like a month and a half, 2 months in Ash and Iron, when most people have reached 500 power and tier 5s are just dropping like candy everywhere in the game, obviously tier 5s at that point won't be rare. It's going to be more about getting the right armor set bonus you want with the right stats. And so at that point, you know, the event armor being tier 5 also really isn't that big a deal. You're going to be able to get tier 5 armor everywhere, right? So the reason it kind of feels weird right now is because we're at the beginning of this cycle, and once we're in the midst of it where everyone has an entire account full of tier 5 stuff, obviously it's going to be no problem at all, and definitely the way to handle events when they're limited. So definitely get in there. Solstice is 100% worth farming. The weapons are really cool, and you can also farm higher tier armor than you have access to currently. And now if we look at the weapon, as we said, it's a Strand Area Denial Frame GL in the top slot, obviously, and this thing is just absolutely perfect. So if you look at all the perks on the weapon, once again, there's just so many combos that you could run. If you're getting tier 5 drops, practically every roll you get will probably have a really good combination of perks. So you make an argument for a lot of things, but I'm going to try and narrow it down to like 3. And the first one's going to be like just the generic roll. And the way I would take that would be Envious Arsenal. And this is not only for avoiding reloading if you do damage with all 3 of your weapons. That is cool. But the more important part is the plus 20 ammo generation. And with this being a really good accurate weapon, with that perk, you're going to be printing ammo all over the place for both special and heavy. And for that, I would probably just pair it with One for All. There's a lot of damage perks on this weapon, but I think One for All for most situations, in particular general play, will be the best. 35% buff and hitting 3 targets with Area Denial Frame GL, obviously not that difficult. So I think that's better than Binary Orbit, which is 25%. That perk is still good. One for All is just a little bit better. And then you have Frenzy and Vorpal. I would just go with Frenzy, but once again, I think One for All just better. Frenzy could be good because you're not going to be using reload perk on the left, But I think the base reload on this weapon is good enough where you don't necessarily need Frenzy. And the final damage perk that you could use instead would be Elemental Honing. That could be better for boss damage and rotations. But I don't think we're going to be using this that much for boss damage. So for my general play rule, I would go with Envious Arsenal plus 1 for all. But I think there are other options. I think some people like Ambitious Assassin. I've never been a huge fan of it on these Area Denial Frame GLs because the damage doesn't stack right, so there's no point hitting the same name multiple times. So I think just shooting 1 at a time is generally enough. I never really feel like I need to be shooting 2 with the way you can already spread the single shot. It's just not what I would personally run, but it's still fine, right? And the second role would be a demo role. The way demo scales with the grenade stat, you'll be getting your grenade back in like 6-7 kills with Devour a lot faster. And I think once again you could pair that with 1 for all, or maybe look into Attrition Orbs. Attrition Orbs isn't nearly as good on these frames as it used to be. It will still print roughly 1 orb per shot, which is still fine, right? That's going to be a way to make sure you have armor charges ready or have your fonts procced. It's still going to be pretty good. And I think I like the demo roll on a lot of Warlock builds. Before we move into my final roll, the one that is just absolutely broken, some honorable mentions is maybe like a slice roll. There's a lot of builds in the game where you spam your class ability thinking Grapple Hunter or even Phoenix Dive Starfire. So slice could be pretty good just to sever stuff constantly. But finally, the roll that makes this a must-have weapon, arguably the best weapon for the best builds in the entire game, is a new perk, Blast Distributor. And what this perk says is dealing splash damage grants a bonus to the grenade stat. And if we look at how this perk works, every time you deal splash damage, you're going to get 1 stack of the perk all the way up to ×5. And with this weapon having multiple pools that get shot at once, you can proc ×5 just by hitting a single target or hitting multiple targets at once. And so every time you shoot this weapon, you're going to have ×5, no matter the situation. No kill activation at all. This is always going to be active with this weapon. And the way I test what this perk does, the same way I did Proximity Power, is to drop down to 100 grenade stat even and throw the grenade. And if we do that, my magnetic grenade hits for 490. Now we shoot at a target and get the perk ×5, it will go up to 697. And if we do the math, that is going to be a 42% increase to the grenade damage, which just right off the bat, if this perk red, doing damage gives you 42% more grenade damage, I think most people would realize this is like the best perk in the game. And that is what it does, right? Just straight up free 42% grenade damage just from shooting the weapon. No kills required. That is absolutely insane. And if we ask how much grenade stat is that, well, what you can do, same for the melee perk, is we know 200 grenade is 65% grenade damage, right? And this was 42%. So what you can do is just say one individual grenade stat is 0.65%. So you take 42% divided by 0.65%. If you do that, you get 65. So it's equivalent of 65 grenade stat. And I can prove that by putting on exactly 165 grenade. And it says exactly 42%. And if we throw the grenade, it hits for 697. So this perk is 65 free grenade stat just from shooting it, which equates to 42% more grenade damage. And that is just absolutely insane. And what that means is normally with 200 grenade stat, looking at damage on Carl with our grenade, it's a hit for 808. But now we can actually drop down to 135 grenade while using this perk and still have 200. Which means we have a lot more options with our build crafting and our stats. So as you see, ×5 of the perk hits 808. We can go even further, dropping down to 115 and still have 200 if we use a grenade font plus the perk. So it's going to be 20 per font, 65 from the perk, taking us still to 200 grenade stat. And so now, as you can see, you can get like 100 grenade pretty easily with any armor, and it really opens the door into our build crafting. We can go even further with 95 grenade with 2 grenade fonts, so plus 20, plus 20, plus 65, and still have the full 200. And what this means is for all the meta melee builds on Prismatic, each character has one. So on Warlock and Titan, with Lightning Surge or Consecration, both these builds want high melee stat, right? And they both take advantage of Grenade also, but normally, using a full set Brawler armor, we can get to 200 melee if we run a melee font plus full Brawler armor. But this leaves us with only like 100 Grenade if we have Grenade as the third stat on all of our armor. But now, as we showed off, with this perk plus a Grenade font, we can actually run 200 very easily on all of these builds. And not only that, running a Strand weapon has always been the best for these builds anyways, because it helps build up the darkness side of Transcendence incredibly fast, and then you have all of your abilities for the light side, and with the Bravery Fragment to proc unraveling rounds, you're going to be proccing Transcendence very quickly. In just like a few shots, you will have the full side of darkness fully charged. So not only can this weapon give you max grenade stat for free on all these builds, while still maintaining very high melee, it's also be the most effective way to build up Transcendence, and that clear is going to be absolutely insane by just spreading unraveling rounds to everything. And it works the exact same way on Titan, but even more importantly, this gun is busted on Hunter. And I need better armor on my Hunter, but the same thing, this enables us to get 200 melee and 200 grenade very easily at the same time. And that is even more important on Hunter with Grapple, because Grapple gets bonus damage from both melee and grenade buffs. So now we can truly double dip into both with this weapon, and still have the great ad clear with Bravery and the unraveling rounds. And even more importantly, as we showed off in a lot of videos, the highest grapple grenade damage is using Verity on the class item with Hoyle, and this is also probably the best way to keep high stacks of Verity going, constantly getting the kills with it being Strand. And Verity is not only double grenade damage, which will be multiplying against the grenade stat of 65%, it is also increased grenade recharge rate, helping us get our grapple back even faster, comboing that with Hoyle and some other things we have in this build to get our grenade back. You'll be getting your grenade in like under 10 seconds with this build now. Always having max grapple damage is just perfect. So on Hunter, this weapon single-handedly allows us to run 200 melee and 200 grenade at the same time very easily, while also keeping us at ×5 verities at all times. And all not to mention, everything being unraveled means more ways to proc Stylish Executioner and Constantly Go Invis. It's just the perfect weapon for these builds. There's just nothing else to say. And this perk is just absolutely busted. Stats are so strong right now that any perk that gives you stats for free is already like one of the best perks in the game. And with this one not even requiring kills just from shooting it, you can even use it on bosses. Just shoot the boss once, get ×5, and you just have 42% more grenade damage. It is just absolutely wild. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for the video. If you can't tell with me nerding out about this perk and this weapon, I just think it's that good and definitely worth getting. Anyways, like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.